Ladies, let me tell you something about men. When a man starts pulling away, when he's not calling like he used to, when he's acting distant, ignoring your text, leaving your messages unread, it feels like rejection. But before you panic, you need to understand this. Men retreat for reasons that often have nothing to do with you. It's not always about you, but what you do next will absolutely decide where this relationship goes. When a man distances himself from you and starts ignoring you, the first thing most women want to do is fix it. You feel that ache in your chest, the confusion in your mind, and your heart races with questions. What did I do? Did I say something wrong? Is he losing interest? That anxiety is real. It creeps in during the silence and grows louder with every unanswered message. But let me tell you something that might be hard to hear. What you do next will define everything. Now, here's the truth, and I need you to hold on to this. Men are wired differently. When something's going on in their world, stress, pressure, doubts, they shut down. They go into that mental cave where they believe they need to fix things on their own. It's not about you, and it's not personal. But when a woman tries to break into that space, constantly reaching out, trying to get answers, trying to pull him back before he's ready, that's when things get worse. Not because she did anything wrong, but because men don't respond well to pressure when they're already feeling overwhelmed. So the moment you notice that distance, take a breath, don't chase it. Don't fill that silence with overthinking or begging for his attention. What you do is step back, give him the space he clearly needs. And don't confuse stepping back with playing games. This isn't about manipulation, this is about self-respect. Because when a woman has the strength to hold her peace, to remain calm and unbothered during a storm, she commands a whole different level of respect. And here's what most women don't realize. Silence, when done with confidence and class, is loud. It speaks louder than words. When he sees that you, because usually make president, victory then becomes important, if not impotent. Then Gregory, the Dennison, that Robert, the rest, and the us activate then. Because while he was out there trying to find himself or escape his thoughts, you were over here not breaking your spirit to hold on to a man who couldn't even return a text. That kind of peace, that kind of strength, it's magnetic. A woman who is at peace with herself, who knows she's the prize and not just a placeholder, that woman is unforgettable. So the next time a man ignores you or creates distance, don't chase. You match his energy with grace. You focus on yourself. Pour into your life, your goals, your friends, your peace. Let him feel what it's like not to have you around. Let him sit in the silence he created. Because if you keep reaching out and trying to fix what he broke, all you're doing is teaching him that he can disappear and you'll always be right there waiting with open arms. That's not love. That's emotional dependency. And you're worth more than that. You deserve a man who communicates, not one who retreats every time things get wrong. You deserve presence, not confusion. You deserve answers, not silence. The truth is, if he loves you, he will come back. And when he does, he'll come back with clarity and intention. He'll know he almost lost something valuable, and that knowledge will change how he treats you. But if he doesn't come back, if the silence continues and the distance grows, that's not your loss. That's divine protection. That's God removing someone who didn't have the capacity to love you the way you deserve. Sometimes rejection is just redirection. It's a setup for something better. You don't have to fight for someone who's not fighting for you. That's not how real love works. Real love shows up, Real love stays present. Real love communicates even when it's hard. So when you find yourself in that space where he's going cold and distant, remind yourself of your worth. Remind yourself that you're not someone who has to prove her value to a man who doesn't see it. Let him feel the absence of your energy. Let him sit with the silence he created. And most importantly, let him earn his way back, if he even deserves the chance. Because here's the truth. The more you chase someone who's pulling away, the more you lose yourself in the process. And the more you lose yourself, the less you have to offer, not just to him, but to yourself and the people who truly care. You are not here to babysit a grown man's emotional confusion. You are here to be loved, chosen, and respected. So let the distance do what it's supposed to do. Let it reveal whether he's strong enough, committed enough, and man enough to show up. And while that process unfolds, you stay grounded, you stay busy, you keep glowing, keep building, keep becoming. Because the right man, he's not going to ignore you. He's not going to create distance as a form of punishment or emotional manipulation. The right man is going to cherish your presence and protect your peace, not disrupt it. He won't leave you guessing. He'll communicate even when it's uncomfortable. And until that man shows up, you don't settle, you don't chase, you don't beg. You simply step back, hold your head high, and let your silence speak volumes. That is your power. That is your peace. And that is how you protect your heart. When a man suddenly becomes distant or starts ignoring you, it can feel like emotional whiplash. One day he's calling, texting, being attentive, making you feel like you're the center of his world. And the next day, it's silence. He pulls back. The texts stop. The conversations get shorter. And you're left with that sinking feeling in your chest. You replay everything you said, everything you did, looking for answers. But the more you chase those answers, the more he drifts. And that's where most women make the biggest mistake. They try to fix it too fast. What you have to understand is that when a man begins to distance himself, it doesn't always mean he's lost interest. Men often pull back when they feel overwhelmed, uncertain, or emotionally confused. Sometimes it's about his job, his purpose, his ego, his fears. Not necessarily about you. But when you start overanalyzing, texting more, calling repeatedly, or demanding clarity, it only confirms to him that you're emotionally reactive. And what does he do then? He pulls back even further. Because now he feels pressure. He feels your anxiety instead of your calm. That's the moment you need to pause. Not because you're giving up, but because you're reclaiming your self-respect. The key is to respond, not react. If he goes quiet, let him. Don't feel the silence. Don't try to chase after him and remind him of what he's missing. Let him remember it on his own. Because here's what happens when a woman stops chasing. She becomes mysterious again. She becomes the prize. The one thing that makes a man stop and think is when he realizes she didn't panic in his absence. She didn't break down. She didn't beg. She simply allowed his behavior to speak for itself, and she matched it with quiet strength. When you stop initiating, you give him the space to notice the void. You give him a chance to feel what life is like without you being readily available. And trust me, if he truly cares, that absence will speak louder than any words you could have said. He'll remember the way you laughed, the way you supported him, the way you brought peace into his life, and that memory will create a pull much stronger than any text message could. That's the power of emotional detachment. Not because you don't care, but because you're choosing to care about yourself first. Sometimes women get caught in the cycle of thinking they can love a man into showing up. That if they just try a little harder, send the right message, give the right amount of attention, he'll come back around. But a man doesn't fall in love with pressure. He falls in love with peace, with confidence, with a woman who knows her value and doesn't hand it out for free. You don't have to remind a real man of your worth. He'll feel it in your silence. He'll feel it in your absence. He'll feel it in your energy. Let him miss you. Let him experience the distance he created. Let him sit in the silence without your efforts to fix it. And in that space, focus on yourself. Don't just sit there waiting by the phone. Go out. Work on your goals. Spend time with your people. Heal, grow, glow. Glow, because the more you build yourself during that distance, the more powerful you become. And when he does come back, and if he's the right one, he will. You won't need him. You'll choose him. That's the difference. A woman who chooses a man from a place of strength is more attractive than any woman who's begging to be chosen. There's another layer to this too. Sometimes the silence is his answer. Sometimes a man pulls away because he's losing interest, but doesn't have the courage to say it. He wants to create distance without confrontation. And while that's not fair to you, it's still a blessing in disguise, because that distance gives you clarity. If he doesn't come back, you know where you stand. You know he wasn't the one. And instead of wasting months or years trying to fix something that was never whole, you get your time back, you get your peace back, and you get a chance to make space for someone who will show up without hesitation. You don't ever have to beg a man to be in your life. You don't have to chase, convince, or plead. If he wants to be there, he will. If he doesn't, then he was never meant to be. And the truth is, real love doesn't run away when things get hard. Real love doesn't hide behind silence or distance. Real love communicates. Real love stays. And you deserve that kind of love. Not the kind that makes you question your worth or lose sleep, wonder what you did wrong. So the next time a man starts pulling away, let him. Don't chase. Don't react. Don't fold. Stand still in your power. Match his energy. Be calm, be confident, be quiet if needed. And let his actions show you everything you need to know. A man who truly values you will never leave you confused. He won't play games with your emotions. And if he does walk away, let him. Because the right one will never need to be reminded of what you bring to the table. He'll see it clearly, and he'll never risk losing it. When a man begins to pull away or suddenly ignores you, it creates a wave of confusion and doubt. You start to wonder what went wrong. You question your words, your actions, even your worth. It feels personal, like a rejection of everything you've shared. But before you allow those thoughts to spiral out of control, you need to stop and breathe. Because how you respond in this moment matters more than what caused his distance. It's not about begging for answers or chasing clarity. It's about maintaining your power and protecting your peace. You may think reaching out more will help. You believe that if you just explain yourself or show him how much you care, he'll come back around. But that's not how emotionally mature men work. In fact, the more you chase, the further he pulls away. Men don't respond well to pressure when they're already in retreat mode. When a man distances himself, whether it's due to stress, uncertainty, or loss of interest, the best thing you can do is create space, not out of pride, but out of self-respect. It's natural to want closure, to want him to say what's going on, but sometimes silence is the answer. Sometimes his pulling away is the message. And the truth is, you don't have to decode every shift in his behavior. You don't have to be the one to fix the connection if he's the one who broke it. Let him feel what distance feels like. Let him sit in the silence he created. Because the moment you start chasing someone who's pulling away, you teach them that you're willing to compromise your peace for his presence. And that is never a position you want to be in. There's a different kind of power in stillness. When you stop texting, when you stop trying to fix things, when you shift your focus from why is he doing this to what do I need right now, you step into emotional maturity. You stop being emotionally dependent on someone who's showing you inconsistency. Instead, you begin to reclaim your value. You begin to show yourself the love you were hoping to get from him. And that shift is magnetic. You see, a woman who doesn't flinch when a man pulls away is unforgettable. She's not heartless. She just knows her worth. She doesn't need to chase or explain. Her energy speaks for itself. And when a man sees that you didn't crumble during his silence, when he realizes you didn't send 1,000 messages trying to get his attention, that's when it hits him. That's when he realizes what he had. Not because you made him see it, but because your absence highlighted your presence. If he truly cares, he will come back, and not just to test the waters, but with intention. But if he doesn't, you now have the clarity you need. You're no longer guessing. You're no longer in emotional limbo. And that's a blessing in disguise. You deserve consistency, not confusion. You deserve effort, not excuses. And any man who is meant for you will never make you question whether you're wanted. This is not about playing games. It's about setting standards. You are not responsible for managing his emotional inconsistency. If he needed space, let him have it. If he walked away, let him go. And while he's figuring out what he wants, you focus on what you need. Fill your time with purpose. Surround yourself with people who pour into you. Reconnect with your own goals and passions. Let your energy shift from waiting to thriving. Sometimes the best response to being ignored is glowing up in silence. Not because you want to make him regret it, but because you know you're not going to pause your life for someone who doesn't see your value. The right man won't create unnecessary confusion. He won't leave you guessing. He'll communicate. He'll stay. And he'll show up consistently. So don't chase after someone who's walking away. Let him go and watch what happens. If he's meant to return, he will. But you won't be waiting in desperation. You'll be standing in strength. Because you know that silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do when a man distances himself is to do nothing at all. When a man starts distancing himself and begins to ignore you, the emotions that rise up can feel unbearable. It's confusing, painful, and it hits your confidence in ways you didn't expect. 1 minute, you're sharing laughter, connection, deep talks. The next, he's unavailable. The texts become shorter, the calls stop, and suddenly you're the only one trying to keep the connection alive. You start to question everything, wondering what changed. But in moments like this, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to chase him, it's to pause and protect your peace. Men often pull away when they feel overwhelmed, unsure, or emotionally conflicted. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. It can be work pressure, internal stress, emotional baggage, or even fear of intimacy. But when a man starts pulling back, the worst thing you can do is push forward. It's not your job to dig into the root of his silence if he's not offering communication. What you do in that moment says everything about your self-worth. You can either start chasing him, begging for answers, or you can step back and observe what his absence reveals. When you stop chasing a man who's gone distant, you send a powerful message, not just to him, but to yourself. You show him that your world doesn't revolve around his moods, that you don't fall apart because someone chooses silence over honesty, that you are a woman with emotional discipline. Most women think silence means they're losing him, but silence can actually be the key to gaining clarity. When you don't react, when you don't panic, you give him the space to feel the consequences of his emotional absence. It's easy to get caught in your emotions and start explaining yourself, checking in repeatedly, or trying to make him feel guilty for pulling away. But that only feeds his comfort. It shows him that he can give you less and you'll give more. That's not love. That's imbalance. When a man sees that you can match his distance with grace, he realizes you're not emotionally dependent on him. That realization shakes him because most men expect pursuit when they withdraw, when they don't get it. They're forced to examine their feelings more closely. If a man truly values you, your quiet absence will affect him deeply. When he doesn't hear from you, when your energy fades from his daily life, that silence becomes louder than words. He starts to remember the way your presence made him feel, the peace, the support, the joy. And when that memory hits, he will either step forward or stay gone. Either way, you win, because now you're no longer chasing answers. You've created the space to let truth rise to the surface. Now, there's also the hard truth that sometimes he pulls away not because he's confused, but because he's losing interest. That's a reality many women try to ignore. They keep hoping he's just stressed, just distracted, just going through something. But if a man consistently distances himself without ever returning with effort or clarity, he's already made his decision. He just didn't say it out loud. And that's your cue to walk away with dignity. You can't force someone to love you right. You can't beg a man into seeing your worth. That's something he has to do on his own. And if he can't, it's not your failure. It's simply a redirection, one that's pointing you towards someone who won't play emotional hide and seek. Someone who knows what he wants and doesn't disappear when things get serious. That's the kind of connection you deserve. Not one that keeps you guessing, doubting, or waiting. The love you deserve is consistent. It's clear. It shows up every day, not just when it's convenient. While he's figuring himself out, you pour into you. This is your time to glow up, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You don't waste your energy trying to pull someone closer who already knows where you are. You focus on your life. You focus on becoming so fulfilled that his silence no longer echoes in your heart. Because healing doesn't come from the man who hurt you. It comes from the moment you stop trying to understand him and start choosing yourself. When he does return, and if he values you, he will. He won't be met with desperation. He'll be met with boundaries. You won't need him. You'll be in a place where you choose whether or not he still fits into your life. And that's where your real power lies, the power of silence, the power of not reacting, the power of letting a man show you who he is by what he does when you stop chasing. So when a man distances himself and ignores you, just remember, you don't have to say a word. Your silence, your peace, and your ability to hold yourself together without begging for clarity, that's louder than anything else. Let him feel your absence. Let him earn his place in your life. And most importantly, never forget that you are the prize. When a man creates distance and chooses silence, it's tempting to internalize the rejection. You start wondering if you weren't enough, if you were too much, too emotional, too available. But the truth is, his behavior is a reflection of him, not you. Your worth isn't diminished by someone who doesn't recognize it. A man who is emotionally mature, grounded, and invested will not create distance as a form of control or avoidance. He'll communicate. He'll make space for you even in hard times. And that's the difference between a man who's ready for love and a man who just enjoys attention. The silence he gives you, use it. Let it be a time for reflection, not regret. Let it show you how peaceful your life can be without the confusion. Let it remind you that you never need to beg for love, time, or presence. The woman who remains grounded in her value is the woman who eventually receives the love she truly deserves. So don't fear the distance. Embrace it. If he returns with clarity, you'll know. And if he doesn't, you've already started becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more whole. That's your power. That's your peace. And no man can take that from you.